This last lesson is on problem solving with oblique triangles. So when we're solving word problems or problems that involve multiple steps, the first thing that you need to do is really make sure you read the problem carefully. And read it more than once as well. So don't just read it once quickly and start answering the question. Make sure you understand it. Make sure you go through it before you get started. So the next part, if you're able to, is sketch and label a diagram. I recommend this for pretty much any problem that you are able to write a diagram. It'll help you visualize it, see what's happening and what the problem is. Identify what you know. So what pieces of information did the question give you? What did it provide you? And write those down. Identify what you need. So what have you been asked to find? So use step 3 and 4, okay, and think about what have you been given, what do you need, and now you need to use those to select your tools. In other words, what are you going to do to solve the problem? Once you have your formula, your tools, whatever you need, solve it. When you're done solving it, make sure you write a therefore statement. Therefore statements are really very necessary if you're given a word problem. In a situation where the question isn't a word problem and you're just asked to solve something, usually it's enough to put a big box around your answer. So if that's your answer, you put a big box around it. It's okay. The general rule of thumb for me is if the question is asked in words about a situation, what is the distance between me and a soccer post? What's the distance between two cars? You should answer with, therefore the distance between two cars is ... Okay? So it's kind of my rule of thumb. So now that we have learned a lot of methods for solving triangles, we need kind of a method to be able to use to determine which method we're going to use to solve the problem. So the first one, remember, was take a look at the sum of the angles in any triangle. So if you're missing only one angle in the triangle, they all have to add up to 180 degrees, and this could give you your first piece of information that you need. Sketch a diagram. Once you have a diagram, you can see whether or not you have a right triangle or any triangle, any other triangle. So you can only use these two if you have a right triangle, Pythagorean theorem, and primary trig ratios. Remember that sine, cosine, tan. So you can only use these with the right triangle, but you can use these two for any triangle. Sine law and cosine law, you can also use these for right triangles. They tend to be a little more challenging though, so using these for right triangles tends to make more sense. Now do not assume based on a diagram, so if I give you a triangle that looks like this, if I have not provided you with enough information, let's say I say this angle is 60 degrees, and this side length is 10 centimeters, and this side length is 5 centimeters. Immediately looking at it, it looks like a right angle triangle, but do not assume that it is one. Okay? Do some calculations. Maybe this will be the first angle you want to find to see if it is a right angle triangle. The only way to know for sure is if I put that in it. So if that is there, then that means it's definitely a right angle triangle. Okay. So let's do an example together. This one isn't a word problem. It says determine the values for M and P. So remember when we label the triangle, once again, this is our M here, and our P is directly across from side length P. So we're looking for two side lengths. So there's already a diagram here. Okay. So what I've done first is I've sketched and labeled the diagram. So we're done step 2 of our procedure. Step 3, identify what you know. Okay. So there's kind of an easy way that I like to keep track of what I know and what I don't know. Okay. Taking a look at this, at the diagram, we know that this is an obtuse triangle. Mainly because this one's 23 degrees, this one's 15 degrees, so we know that this one has to be 142 degrees. Okay. So that if this triangle is obtuse, that means we're going to have to use sine and cosine laws. We're not going to be able to use Pythagorean theorem. We're not going to be able to use our primary trig ratios. So how do we know where to start and what to do? Okay. Do we use a sine law, cosine law? So for the sine law, we're going to have to find out what we know first before we can get started. So there's angles M, N, and P, and there's side lengths N, and P. And I suppose we should label this little n as well. Okay. So which pieces of information do we know? We know big P, we know little n, big M, and big N. And for cosine law, we need to have either side, 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 three sides, or two sides, around one angle. Do we have all three sides? No. Do we have an angle between two given sides? No. So we are going to have to use sine law. We can't use cosine law. So for sine law, we know we need at least one pair that goes together, side length and its adjacent angle. And we can use that to find M and P because we have the corresponding angles for them. So to find M, remembering our sine law, if we're looking for side length M, we can automatically put it on the top. So M divided by sine M equals N divided by sine N. So I'm using the one I know, and I'm using the one that I need to find. So now we can substitute our values in. Or you can rearrange it. Remember we talked about this. It doesn't matter which one you do first. I might actually just quickly move that sine M over to the other side. Now I can substitute in my values. Little n is 33 yards. Angle n is 42 degrees times sine of 15. Calculator time. (33) divided by sine 42 multiplied by the sine of 15 equals 12.76. Double check if you get it wrong that your calculator is in degrees. It should have that's a little D right there. So your calculator will probably have something similar to that. And you can always just go back up to your calculation. Most scientific calculators will let you kind of play around with it. Double check that you got it right. Hopefully I got it right. Finding little n, or little p, sorry, we have little n. Looking for little p. Okay. Same thing again. Little p divided by sine p. Little n divided by sine n. Rearrange for p. substitute your numbers in. Oh, that's the mistake I made. This angle isn't 42, this angle is 142. So I'll have to go back and fix my other calculation. Good thing I looked at this one and I didn't look at my other calculation to go back and fix it. Okay. So now we got two calculations. 33, I can get it. There. Divided by sine of 142. Sorry about that. Multiplied by sine 15. That's not right, something happened. Divided by sine 142 times sine 15. There, 13.9. That sounds a bit better. Now, I highly recommend using pencil for math once again. I use pen so it shows up a bit clearer for you. 9, and this one is 33. I sine 142 times sine 23 equals 20.9 yards. So we're almost at the end of our question. First of all, go back and we wrote down what we were given, determined how to do it. We were looking for M and P. We wrote down M and P, what we were asked to find. So now all we have to do is make sure that we don't have to do a therefore statement for this one, I would say. You could write therefore M equals 13.9 yards and P equals 20 yards. Or you could just do that to indicate your final answer. So that's a quick example showing you how to work through solving problems like this.